the U.S. is pulling out. And I'm sitting here sort of in a state of disbelief over how badly this has gone. I mean, just when you think it couldn't have gotten any worse, we learned yesterday that guess what? The head of the CIA went all the way over to Afghanistan to sit down with the head of the Taliban because for some reason we're now in the position where the head of the CIA is going, I don't know, cup in hand to the Taliban to beg the Taliban to give us a little bit more time, which, by the way, the Taliban's not willing to give. And so now Joe Biden is saying he wants everybody out in 72 hours. My goodness, this is truly a crisis. It is truly a catastrophe, and it's all of his own doing. I mean, that's what's so tragic about it all. Hello, everyone. I am Trish Regan. This is the Trish Regan Show. Do make sure that you have downloaded this and you subscribe to this podcast on Apple, iTunes, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you're watching on Rumble, on YouTube. Make sure you give it that thumbs up and subscribe, of course, to the channel. Facebook as well. I mean, this is unbelievable. I mean, he's like the Neville Chamberlain, right, of modern day society. I mean, the idea that we are getting out right now of Afghanistan is pretty amazing given all that we put in. About $1 trillion, 2,300 lives, and 20 years. 20 years only to throw it all away because this president wants to appease terrorists. I mean, this really is a modern day Neville Chamberlain kind of scenario. This is the guy who, of course, was the Prime Minister of Great Britain, of the UK, between 1937 and 1940, and he's well known, went down in history for his foreign policy being all about appeasement, except that appeasement doesn't really work, not when you're dealing with some really bad folks, okay? So in the case of the late 30s, it was Hitler, and today we've got the Taliban. The Munich Agreement was signed September 30th, of course, of 1938, and you think back to that, and what that really signaled. That was when, of course, Chamberlain said, okay, we're going to give you or sign off on the German-speaking part of Czechoslovakia falling to Hitler, to Germany. And that was sort of the beginning of the end, if you would, because appeasement doesn't work, right? It's like with the bullies in school, and the bully gets a sense of things, and then he keeps coming back for more and more. And, this is kind of like that big bully. You can make the analogy between World War II, or you can look at what's going on now. You've got the Taliban that is telling Joe Biden and the head of our CIA how they want things to go. Has anybody stopped for 2 seconds to say, wait a second, what about the Taliban? If they had an agreement in place, they weren't supposed to do anything until August 31st, and yet they're going there, taking over all these cities, calling the shots at the airport, right now controlling the entrance into the Kabul airport. I told you in yesterday's podcast, Season 2, Episode 151, go back and listen to it if you haven't, all about the Haqqani Network, a terrorist organization that has ties to the Taliban and basically makes Al-Qaeda look like nothing. These guys are seriously ruthless, and they're now controlling security on the ground in Kabul. So that gives you a sense of how bad it is and how bad these people are. So why are you pulling a Chamberlain, right? Why are you appeasing? In a situation like this, by the way, I'm all for getting out. I don't want to be all around the world meddling in everybody else's business. We got enough problems right here at home. Thank you very much. I don't believe that we belong everywhere. We need to refocus our efforts for this modern age, for a new time in the world where there are cyber threats, there are terror threats, there are new kinds of threats. But after 20 years and all that money and all those lives, you don't walk away like this. And you certainly don't leave Americans. You do not leave Americans. And the idea that he's saying, you know what? After the 31st doesn't matter, and we'd like to get out before even the 31st, maybe in the next 72 hours. Come on. Come on. I want to tell you very quickly about a new sponsor of this program. I'm so excited, actually, to tell you about these guys because, I don't know about you, but I always worry about my email. Well, I know somebody's watching my email because you just look at all the ads you get, right? You know that you have no privacy online. And I've had an email account that was free, that was set up 20 years ago. And, You know, I've still used it up until recently, until I met these guys, because this company, actually it's called StartMail.com. This company actually ensures 1,000% the privacy on your email. And you know, that's a big deal. You think about email, and we've always been willing to somehow surrender some of this privacy, not caring, right? To say, oh, well, it's free. Well, you know what? Like, free isn't always the way to go, right? And when it comes to your email and your privacy, you need to protect it. Gmail and Yahoo and others, they say, oh, we're free. But you know what? They're not really free. They're not free because they have the content, and they're looking at the content to try and figure out what they should advertise to you next. So you have no privacy. I mean, no privacy at all. And this is serious. Like, I mean, if you've got a pretty important plan for your business, or you have medical records that you want to protect, don't think that they are protected. In fact, Yahoo can actually sell that information, right? That's effectively email surveillance, and they can sell it. They can make money off of it. They're making money off of you, which then turns around, you've got all kinds of problems, all kinds of intrusive ads. It opens you up to phishing and hacking attacks and everything else. So if you don't take your email seriously, this is my soapbox today. You need to look at this company, StartMail.com. StartMail.com is to help you protect that privacy, right? So that you have some say in this. They have their own servers, not Amazon's, by the way, which actually is really important because it protects them against something like what we just saw with Parler, right? Where everything gets shut down. Well, they have their own servers, and that's important. You want that privacy. The other thing I just wanted to mention very quickly to you is that StartMail can enable you to take all of your email that you already have, say in a Gmail account or Yahoo account, and you can transfer it over. You can transfer it over to StartMail.com. So that's pretty good because you've got all that there. And you know what? When you delete something, it's really deleted. Unlike Gmail, unlike Yahoo, any of these other email places where you don't really know. I mean, is it really deleted? They have all kinds of cybersecurity. That's really important. I'm a huge warrior, as you just heard. I'm very concerned about the cyber threat going forward. So a company like this, I think, is right on the money. And I have worked out a special deal for any listener of this program, for any viewer of this show. You get 50% off 1 year with StartMail if you type in the code word Trish. My name, of course, Trish. So start securing your email privacy. It's important that you do that at StartMail.com. Start with a T, S-T-A-R-T, mail.com. Type in code word Trish or go to StartMail.com/Trish. Get that 50% off for your first year and be very happy and thankful that you actually have privacy when it comes to your email. I mean, it's really just unthinkable how we've gotten so used to things not being so secure, shall we say. But anyway, just a quick reminder as well, if you have not already, do go and download this podcast on Apple iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you go to trishintel.com. That's my website. You can get all your news and information there. We've got markets, we've got economics, we've got politics. It's all covered. Plus, there's the Trish Regan store. You can check that out. But again, we've got a lot going on back here at home, and it's pretty disturbing. It's pretty disturbing when you realize that this president seems more preoccupied, if you would, with appeasing the Taliban than actually doing his job to protect Americans, including Americans that are there right now. You know, everybody's come out and said it. They said, we can't get the Americans out by August 31st. So what is the plan exactly? I mean, right now we're already relying on the kindness of strangers, or shall I say, the kindness of terrorists, right? The Taliban organization. We're relying on them to help get Americans out of the country. And then after the 31st, those Americans are on their own, not to mention all the people that worked with Americans over there. I mean, it's really and truly pretty bizarre behavior. Now, maybe he's just not that bright. I've advanced that theory before. I think that's actually true. I don't think Joe Biden is especially smart. I think you can go back and look at his law school grades to actually verify that. But that aside, he's gotten himself somewhere, right? Because he's now president of the United States. So we can't take that away from him. That said, he's surrounding himself now with a bunch of people that don't want to hear anything else, right? You listen to Jen Psaki, it's like, what the heck planet is this woman living on? She's sitting there telling us how it's just going great and how she wouldn't say that Americans are stranded. I mean, I don't know, maybe we should use another term, hostage, right? They're stuck there, okay, Jen Psaki? And no, you can't sugarcoat this. And don't forget, this same woman was attacking Kayleigh McEnany over and over and over again, as well as Sarah Huckabee Sanders. These are the two press secretaries of Donald Trump, because she said they were spouting lies. Now, granted, they often themselves, in total fairness, would try to sugarcoat things and paint a different picture. I get that that is part of what the job is, right? And they can't be perfectly truthful. But it is nauseating nonetheless. And here's the thing. Americans are tired of it. Just look at the new poll numbers out. I mean, 51%, forgive me, 55% of Americans now disapprove of Joe Biden. This is according to a new USA Today Suffolk poll. And 41% approve. Of the 41 approving, they're primarily Democrats. In fact, 87% of Democrats actually back him. 32% of independents, only 32% of independents saying he's doing a good job. So yes, this is primarily conservatives that are voicing concerns. But, I mean, when you got Adam Schiff, remember the Schiff show? When you got Adam Schiff calling you out, you got a problem. All right, and there's problems coming from every angle right now, because it's not just Afghanistan. You got Nancy Pelosi over there who says, we're not going to do this $1 trillion stimulus deal without having the other 3.5 cemented as well. They want a $4.5 trillion stimulus deal, you see. So you've got the extremists in the party that say, well, we're not signing up for $1 trillion. I mean, forget that like $1 trillion is a heck of a lot of money, right? No, they want the extra $3.5 trillion worth of social benefits tacked in there too, and they're not going to go along with the $1 trillion. Wow. Well, now again, you have some centrists in the Democrat Party who are thinking about, how the heck do I get elected again if I have to tell my constituents, you know what, you're not getting that, whatever, because they won't go for the $1 trillion. Nancy Pelosi and AOC and Rashida Tlaib and the rest of them, they want the $4.5 trillion. So his party is effectively disintegrating right before our eyes, right? You can just sit back and eat a little popcorn and watch this, except you can't, because it's so nauseating and so disturbing. I mean, I've said all along, I don't think I've in recent years been so affected, so horrified by the news cycle. I think it's really, honestly, it's probably been 20 years since I felt this sick to my stomach. And you know what happened 20 years ago. Of course, 9/11. And so I feel like we're right back, right where we started. And what's so horrifying is just that we had the ability to prevent it, right? If smarter minds were in the room. Back to my position on Joe Biden just not being that intelligent. And he's surrounded himself with people that are just not that intelligent, like Anthony Blinken. Anthony Blinken, by the way, John McCain called out back in 2014. He opposed his appointment as Deputy Secretary of State. And John McCain said on the time, that the footage is on C-SPAN. I encourage you to check it out. We've got it at trishintel.com as well. He said, you know, this guy is a danger to men and women in uniform. And it was because of his view on Afghanistan. Because these people get so wedded to ideas. And I mean, I'm sorry, I just think it's a lack of empathy and a lack of intelligence, frankly, when you're not willing to understand all angles. And he wasn't willing to understand all angles. He only had his view, wanting to get out of Afghanistan. He couldn't anticipate what was really going to happen, even though there were generals that were saying, listen, you need 2,500 U.S. troops on the ground because you are going to have utter chaos and you will have a real crisis. And Antony Blinken's like, no. So apparently the State Department had the loudest voice in the room. Joe Biden is off in, la la land because he's getting up there in age. And as I said, he was never that smart to begin with. So here he is relying on these people that have their own agenda. Ask yourself, by the way, why they have that agenda. and why they're not willing to consider, everything. It's like, it's like a game of chess, right? And in chess, you have to be able to fast forward every single move. And because people are so wedded to their own particular viewpoints, they're unwilling to see the board. They're unwilling to see all the moves ahead. And they can't anticipate anything that's not going to just fit with their nice little view of things. Well, guess what? This is the real world, guys. Okay? It's the real world. And your nice little view of things is not always applicable, as we are seeing. Case in point. And you know what? He's going to pay the price. He's paying the price at the polls. He's going to pay the price with his party because, look, if I'm a Democrat running for Congress, do you think I want to get tagged with this? No. I mean, look at Kamala Harris. She's hightailing it out of there. She's trying to go anywhere she can, including the not so smart choice of Vietnam, given the Saigon comparisons, right? With the helicopter on the embassy, which she can't even get to apparently because of concerns about Havana syndrome. That's a whole other ballgame. We got to talk about that another day because that is truly, truly scary. And we don't know a whole lot, but it seems that some of our intelligence professionals have been targeted by Havana syndrome. Anyway, look, it's a fast-moving situation, so I encourage you to keep going back to the website, keep going back to trishintel.com to get all your news on the economy, markets, politics, fast-moving, horrible. Really, really sad that we are in this position this many years later, but here we are. So stay informed. Go and seek out that information. Sign up for my newsletter. Make sure you do that so we have a way to stay in touch. And I will be right back here with you tomorrow through all of this every day here on the Trish Regan Show. Thank you so much for listening and for tuning in.